All right, we are live. Wait for a few seconds here while everything fires up and I check everything to make sure. So there we go. Seems like everything is working properly. So welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I'm your host, Ed Rabyd, a former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel, as always, and welcome to a special Saturday live stream where I'll be discussing the future of the channel, mostly due to the fact that I've had about 3 weeks now where I've just live streamed and I haven't done a video. I wanted to see what that does to the channel specifically. If live streaming, pulling all variables out, what does live streaming do? And it's very interesting results. But before I get into all that, and then maybe the rest of the night will just be open to whatever chat wants to do, kind of a freewheeling. But before we do all that, we need to acknowledge who is here. So we have the Cranky Elder God. He was the first person here. And then we had Rimmer and Fred. You guys really are just doing poor Fred, the man down under. Hey, Ann, good to see you. Paul's here too. All right. And A. Chapman also has arrived. And thank you so much, Jova Shade, right now. Thank you so much. Great to see you too as well. And that's kind of, today I just want to tell you where I'm going, what I'm thinking, get some feedback from you, the audience. So you prefer Vegemite on toast, actually? Okay, well, there you go. It's a great song, by the way. Men at Work did a great song. I never really had any interest in Australia until that song, to be honest. And then the other thing that got me interested in Australia was Aussie Rules football, because it was on ESPN all the time back in the day. And I started watching it and really liked it. I actually like all versions of football, rugby, Aussie, and American. So all of them appeal to me in some way or another. And Aussie has this real fast pace, openness like soccer, but at the same time, it still has some familiar elements. I absolutely loved it. So, so there's that. Hey, Katie, you're sitting quietly in the corner. Okay, we'll see how long that lasts. Just for everybody knows, you have to sub to chat tonight, and you have to sub for at least 20 minutes before you can talk. So there's that. So there's that. But yeah, I got interested in Australia because of a song and because of Aussie football, because I really liked it. So all of it's real football to me. I mean, if you're playing with an oblong thing and it's not, it's a inflated pig bladder, then I'm good with it. So there's that. But best breakfast ever? Vegemite Toast Cafe at Brisbane. Ooh. Yeah, we have the biggest one that came out of Aussie. I think there was like 2 kickers that came out of Aussie, because you guys, Aussie kickers just like put it on a dime, and they don't even have a tee. They don't tee it up or anything. They just drop kick that thing right into a spot. They're very accurate. And I know that there was at least one Aussie punter, in American football who came and became a punter because of that very fact. Like, he could put it right in the corner, right before the end zone, and make it go out of bounds. It was perfect. So yeah, so there's a definite there too. So, but that's how I became interested in Australia. And then as a creationist at the time, I was also like because they're over on Captive Desk, they're dealing with creationism tonight. And so I was there for about a half hour, and Australia kind of kicks creationism in the nuts, quite honestly, because it's like, how the hell did all these unique animals get here? Evolution provides a better answer for that. But yeah, I have never been to Australia, but it's on my list if it ever happens. So there's that. So there's that. But yeah, the future of the channel, that's the subject tonight. Yeah, before we get off onto all the rabbit trails. Also, for those of you who are members, there is a new emoji if you want to try that out. I'd like to see that. It's the veggie killer emoji. It's Fangs eating a carrot. So there's that. So he dropped. There it is. Evan got it out there. Welcome, Evan. But yeah, that's the new emoji, is Fangs. That's our wonderful I Killed Earl did that about a week ago, and I forgot to put it in. So there you go. The veggie eater is here. As I joked last live stream, I've never been so excited to see what somebody's going to do with rabbits eating vegetables ever in my life. So there's that. Yes, Vegemite is an acquired taste. Gosh, there's some other vegetables that I feel the same way, Chapman. So, but yeah, but one of the things that's happening is I know that Earl is working on her artwork. As always, I let her take all the time she needs, because then she does very excellent work. And as somebody who appreciates excellent artwork over, so there's that aspect of it that I'm waiting for. But I've never been more excited to see different vegetables representing religions being chowed down by a rabbit in my life. So that's what's coming. There's also, if she gets more than like right now, I think my allowable emojis because of membership level is like 8, maybe 10. I'm somewhere in there. And so if she gets me more, that I can replace some of the other ones that are just pretty generic that I found, like the thumbs up, thumbs down, all that stuff. So there's that aspect of it. So that's going forward pretty well. The streaming, that's what we need to discuss. I love the streaming. I'm having fun already tonight. I have fun every time we have a stream, even when the theists show up. But it has, I won't say it has negative effects. It just doesn't generate some of the positive effects that I'm looking for the channel. From a standpoint of financial, the goals and the super chats level has definitely gone up because of the streaming, and we're having a good time, and you guys are thanking me for that, and I appreciate that. And that puts my mind at ease about other things in my life. And so that is very much appreciated, and very thank you for that. The problem is everything else. Like my views have dropped dramatically the last 3 weeks. The watch hours too have dropped. Not in danger of not like being monetized. I'm way ahead of that, but views and watch hours have both dropped pretty dramatically, and the subscriber count has frozen in time. Like I'm not getting any new subscribers. So, and I look back at when I'm doing videos, and that's where I'm getting all those things. So there's kind of a damned if I do, damned if I don't situation. I could stream more, but I wouldn't be growing an audience, and it's videos that grow an audience. So I've got to find a way to balance that out. They do. It's just look at any one of my live streams. You can go to the channel, look at them, and look at how many views they're getting. And I know the average, like when people watch a live stream, some people will start it and not bother after 5 minutes. Other people watch them all the way through. They do count. It's just when you only have 200 people watch a live stream, even if you count the ones that watch it after, the watch hours, that's still only like whatever the length of the video is. That's how many watch hours you get. So I'm not in any danger of losing monetization. I'll just put it that way. And people do watch my old videos too, by the way. Every once in a while I will get a new sub and they just kind of deep dive my stuff. And so it's like that. But I think I need like the video production to grow the audience, and I need the live streams to keep the community tight. Because the one thing that has happened that I'm very, very excited about is you guys. Okay, you guys show up, you have a good time. We're still, atheists trying to maybe find a community, and I find that a very positive thing for me, and for all of you. I think it's a very positive. And so I don't want to stop doing it, okay, because it's good for me and it's good for you guys. But my issue has always been as an atheist advocate and activist to grow my influence and to grow my audience. And so the streaming gets better if the community grows. Okay. Maybe, some of you may differ with that. So that's kind of where I kind of stand on it at this point, because it's like, I love the streaming. I love doing it now. I didn't think I would, but I've kind of taken to it and I enjoy it. So it's something I don't want to stop because of a lot of those reasons. It's definitely a little bit more lucrative than videos for sure. You guys are very generous to me and I thank you for that. But I also want to grow my influence. There's other people out there that need to hear, the truth about atheism and the truth about deconversion, and a lot of that stuff needs to be countered. And so that I need to do videos to grow the channel with. That much is pretty much clear. So I got to figure out a way to balance those two. And once I do that, that might be great. So, well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I know there's some people who come and watch it later, like they watch it like a podcast. So that's good. The people that are gifted membership every week were actually online. Yes, when you get a gifted membership, you are online. I think people who gift memberships, you have to be online and watching at the time. So that's one of the conditions of getting a gifted membership. And gifted memberships, they do help the channel quite a bit. One, it gets the channel notice, and as we add new emojis, they get to see those. They get to enjoy the perks of being a member without necessarily paying. And some people have said very much big thank yous. They like being a member of the channel, but they can't afford it themselves. And so those of you gifting memberships, that's very helpful to those people. I know I've got a couple of people who have reached out to me and said, thank you for the gifted membership. And I'm like, well, I didn't gift it. Okay, this is the person you need to thank. And they gave me that reason. And said, I'd like to support the channel more, but I just can't afford it. And so there's that. So yeah. I will probably for sure still stream like Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and then the Friday will be optional depending on how the super chats go that week. And I think I'm going to do a special broadcast at the end of the month, like this one, every month too. Like the last Saturday of every month is going to be a special broadcast that I put together. Maybe have some guests. I know next month I want to do something for autism, for Autistic Awareness Month in the United States. So I definitely want to figure out a way to help there. So that may be my special broadcast at the end. So, so there's that. Yeah, they're not always convenient, and that's the problem. I think with videos, people can watch a 15, 10, 20-minute video anytime. And I know what I do when I watch videos, which is I hand them out to, I watch them at break and lunch and stuff like that when I'm at work. So it's when I have my handheld device and don't have anything to do. That's when I watch them. So, but videos are kind of more, they sit there and anybody can pick them up at any time. So, yeah, me too, Paul. My mods aren't thin skinned. They have and some of them are not Democrats. So, trust me, I cut back. There's one mod I've had discussion with, but my mods aren't thin skinned. It's usually the fact that we've heard this before. And this happens a lot on like the deconversion stream where I'm just trying to do deconversion stuff and talk to people that are doing that. And theists always seem to think that they got to just be an annoyance at that time. And a lot of the other ones, it's just like, dude, are you going to say anything different that I haven't heard 100 times? So apologetics is in a sad state and they just need to acknowledge it. Yeah, I've got to figure it out. I'm going to be streaming. I'm not going to stop streaming. I've just got to figure out a way to add the other stuff. That's me. Hey, asshole. Yeah, I see you like the new emoji, and I think I've got to get down here somewhere. Yes. Yeah, there we go. Thank you, asshole, for the gifted membership. Let's see. Michael Wolf, Native Atheist, Deviant Outcast, Stephen Stevens, Poultice, all received gifted memberships for that one. And then Jova also did the same. Yeah, I'll keep Earl busy on the emojis to get more and more custom ones. So my hope is the rabbits eating different religions will also go into an emoji format. And that might be a lot of fun for a lot of you. But the more memberships I have, the more emojis I can do. So the gifted memberships count for that. So, and then Jova, let's see, Storm Chaser, Star Child, Scuzzbopper, Lucky 3, and Ralph all got gifted memberships from Jova Shade. So thank you very, very much for that. So that's kind of where we're headed. And thank you for the gifted memberships, by the way, guys, both of you. You are been longtime supporters of the channel, particularly Asho. Thank you both. I appreciate both of you. So that's kind of the streaming issue, is the lack of getting it out there. My videos do a better job. My more canned videos that sit there do a better job getting me watch hours, views, and subscribers. I think it's because like people try out a channel with a video, and then if they hear there's a stream, they might come later. So there's that. Oh, I'm not going to leave forever. I'm absolutely committed to this, Anne Marie. It's just every once in a while, I like to talk to all of you about how you're feeling. Okay. Because without an audience to listen, I don't really have anything to do. Okay. I am very much acknowledging that all of you have contributed to the success of the channel. If all you have done is like a video and share it, you have contributed to the success of this channel, and thank you so very much. As a former minister who is like, you gotta understand, my before I started YouTubing, my whole thing was, okay, Ed, you got all this Bible knowledge, you got all this theology, you're working on a degree in political science. What the hell are you going to do with all that? Okay, how do I get out there and use this for something useful that I enjoy, plus do what I've said all the time. I have 3 personal goals for this channel. 1 is to make you think, 2 is to entertain, hopefully, and 3 to make money. Okay, it's root, hog, or die, for a lot of us out here. And it's like, how do I take all this stuff, this education that I have, and make it useful again? And this channel has allowed me to do that. And your support of this channel means the world to me because of it. Okay, because I didn't know how I was going to make this work. And this last year and a half has just been glorious. And it's a do lot to all of you. So thank you very much with that. I think bottom line, yes, this is the issue. We get, if a theist comes in here and just starts preaching like this is true, just deal with it, they're just being annoying, because if you're just going to make claims and not give me evidence, I am very slow personally to pull the trigger, which is why I have mods, because I appreciate my mods, because they will see bullshit a lot quicker than I will. And I tend to be a little bit more patient, personally, because I like to give theists a lot of room to hang themselves. Okay, I know modding is always a future concern, because we always, the mods and I, every once in a while have this discussion online live, and it's always about, hey, are we being too harsh here or whatever? And that's kind of why we time out a lot more than we ban. I don't think we ban too many people. In fact, if anybody usually gets banned, it's usually me doing it. So there's that. Oh, I want to get down here and get Wolf in. Thank you very much, Wolf. I appreciate you. Just absolutely, it's. Uh, thank you very much, Wolf. I appreciate that. All the super chats and stuff will count. The super chats will count for next week's goals tonight. So, and the goal is, 10 to get a Friday stream, and then 20 to make that a hat reveal. And then during the hat reveal, there's still like, you got to pay for my next hat kind of thing. So I use the money to pay for hats, I guess. Thank you, Fred, as well. Outstanding. I want to get you guys all in before the time expires on it. So thank you all. I'd rather time out people, because then they come back. And some theists, as we well know, have learned the rules and they abide by them. And I don't have a problem with them talking. Okay. Especially on like Tuesday with Rapid Fire. That's what Rapid Fire is all about. Come and ask me whatever you want. Banning is kind of like, you have become so annoying that even the Rabyd Atheist, who is very patient, says, yeah, get rid of that. Well, you're going to have to find out, Paul. Okay. That's the thing about the hat reveal. I'm trying out different hats. I think I found my hat for winter already with the Newsboy. I kind of like the look of it, and it keeps my head warm. So next winter, I'm probably going to start wearing it. But yeah, let's see. I know you haven't been a guest. I think that's why I'm going to continue. I know the Friday stream is optional, but I'm really hoping that the goal is so easy that I'm end up making it a regular part. Saturday, I'm leaving open because Ed wants to have a personal love life again. I'm really, I'm definitely, the more I talk to my therapist and the more I examine my own heart and life, it's like I'm a better person when there's a woman in my life. So, but I need to make sure it's the right one so that it doesn't become a downer later in life. But so Saturdays, and what it may happen is the bonus stream may be Friday or Saturday, depending on what's going on in my life. So, so I love the streams too. That's why I'm not going to stop. I've got to figure out a way to get videos into the equation again. So people, like I watch like Durante Lamar has a really good formula. He does live streams, but he also puts out very provocative thinking videos. And I'm taking a cue from him and Mind Shift and going, hey, I need to, do something that kind of sits there for everybody to watch in 15, 20 minutes, like when you're on break at work. So, I think it's a reference to it's a reference to a song, I believe, and it's also a reference to her divorce, I believe. So you would have to ask her um, if she shows up. I don't know if she's going to be here tonight. She might be busy. So, but yeah, there's that. Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I'm making it a bonus thing where if I get enough super chats, I'll do it. So either Friday or Saturday, I'll do a stream, and that'll be fine either way. But I definitely want to do like a special broadcast at the end of the month on a Saturday too. So I love the streams. I do. That's the big thing for me is that the streams are the thing. You know, it definitely is something that I love. So yeah, Boeing. That's probably true. Oh, yeah, you're always late, but it's okay. So there's that. Uh, yeah. And like Wolf here is like, people find this community and the streaming helpful. Like, I know deconversion um, hangout has been very productive for a lot of people deconverting. Even if they don't say so in the comments, they'll email me or message me later saying, "Hey, that was really helpful." So I know we're helping people, and for me, that's important. Okay, and so that's something that, but there are people. There is so. Uh, yeah, it really depends on what they're doing. So I don't know. BS shows up when BS shows up. And I always appreciate BS Lewis. I love his channel. Hey, John, good to see you. No, no, it's not happening. Yeah, so I need to dispel that rumor. So, yeah, see, that's the thing. I got different recommendations from different people um, about different types of hats to try. I'm not a hat person. I never have been until now. It was this winter that said, as much as I'm kind of hypersensitive to stuff being on my head, I probably should wear something to protect against the cold. I got to that point. So yeah, I think that's the issue. I don't know when the bonus stream it happens either Friday or Saturday. I'm going to have to think about because I think a lot of you would show up. Like tonight, I've got a pretty good crowd already, and I think a Saturday stream makes more sense. And that still leaves my Friday nights off. So um, I need one of my nights off from work to also be a night off of YouTube. So I know it sounds weird, but I actually like every once in a while not setting an alarm to get up. you know, one day a week, I just want to sleep and not be woken up by an alarm clock. Um, I I think also as so along with that is taking clips from the streams and putting a like an outro on them, and maybe an intro to them is something else I'm going to look at too, because that's also like I just grabbed something from the stream that was really good and, slap it on there. So it should be an easy make. So, well, yeah, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, those two words are getting really mixed up. I'm glad I just leaned into it instead of fought it. I think if I had fought it, it would have been worse. I think just leaning into it, just like the closed captioning doesn't do me any favors, so I might as well just live with it. So yeah, that's kind of why I start them at 6 o'clock my time because it still leaves. If I get done at 8, I can, as a third shifter, I can still go out for a few hours. So social lives are difficult for me anyway, as a autistic person. The social dynamics just give me headaches, so I have to think about it. So Yeah, it's an issue. Like it's funny when I check the dating apps, I check them while I'm at work at noon at my lunch because it's like, okay, if somebody else is up at this time, maybe they're a third shift or two. So that solves a lot of problems, trust me. Hey Ronald, good to see you. I did do a fedora for St. Patrick's Day. I had a St. Patrick's fedora. So I know that that's kind of like the official atheist hat or official pre-supper hat, depending on how you look at it. So I've never worn one. Yeah, I'm also am trying to stay open. Like I was over at Dave's captive desk tonight because he's taking on creationists. So I hung out there for a half hour before leaving. But he often does creationist video, and I joked with him that there were no toasters this week. So because he was doing this guy that just an oddball, talking about you know Viking helmet to please Hoban. But what is a Viking helmet? If we're talking horns, I know that that doesn't exist, although it would be funny. Um, yeah, I know. Asshole, you do you, man. Um, Always appreciative of whenever you can be by, but I know you have a life. I know everybody here has a life. So I really do think that that would be helpful because we've had some moments here, guys. Like I'm thinking back like a month ago when we did what are the red flags of Jesus, and I asked all the people that would be attracted to a man, gay or straight, um, what would be the red flags of Jesus, and that was just epic. The things that people came up with were just hilarious. So, um, the dating one-liners for Christians, that was another great moment. But there's also been some other moments where I've like went after a theist and been as gentle as possible and told them straight up, "You're full of shit," without saying they were full of shit. So, um, yes, Fredo's. When you do set your alarm, it's a mind. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the day, Ronald, when I could just look at the alarm clock and say "F you." Looking forward to it. I don't know if I'll ever get there, but oh, what a outstanding question, Kyle. I got accused as a pastor of being cold, being unemotional a lot. Probably the autistic masking did that to me. Um, I was much more of a person who liked to deal with ideas than people. And that was also a detrimental. Being a pastor with autism is not a good career choice. Okay, it's just not. It, I, I think I suffered a lot of stuff because of that. It's a great question though, because I ask that of myself all the time. Um, you know, how did that affect my pastor? Because I'm writing my deconversion story and the revelation of autism. I'm trying to weave in there a little bit. Like I didn't know it at the time, but this is probably an autistic thing, especially with my childhood and my teen years. Definitely had an effect on my decision to become a pastor. Um, so there's that. Um, I am actually scheduled to be on Godless Granny May 10th, I think, for her stream. So I'll be there. She's supposed to send me a reminder of when the actual day, but it's early May. I know that. So I will be on her show. Um, Other ones don't invite me. So, and it's because I'm not like a liberal. Okay. I'm not a dogmatic liberal. I have liberal views on a lot of things, but I'm not dogmatic about it. So, so there's that. And I think that's why I don't get invited some places is they want the dogmatism and I'm not dogmatic about political and social views. So, It's not me. So, hey, Alex. And then there's Grumpy Librarian. You don't have a life. You're a librarian. I'm sorry. There's a lot of local news about our local library because we have a new head librarian, and some people really like her and other people don't. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, yeah, I get it, kind of thing. So, but yeah, I I do appreciate when you show up because you usually have this knowledge that I need. You're a good researcher, by the way. So better than I can do while I'm talking at the same time. Muslim prayer hat to wear at the grocery store just to scare people. You got some comments. When things don't go as planned. What social life are you talking about? That was great. It was great. It was good times. I, you know, it's a possibility farming stuff out, I guess. The problem with me is I always want to pay people for doing work for me. That's kind of one of those honor things. So, pink fresh flower, Fez, okay. Evan has been a member. Okay, all right. Cheers for being brave and accidentally being aloof. Yes, but thank you, Evan, for being a member for a month. Appreciate that. I did not get any of the ice storm. That was farther north. I got a tail end of it a little bit when I left work yesterday. So so it ended up missing us completely. Today it was 50 degrees, I think, was the high, and all the snow is melted because it's been raining, and it's a typical spring day, the end of March kind of thing. So I'm happy for that. So it also means that my aches from the cold are starting to disappear, and I'm actually starting to feel normal. Spring and fall are the best times of year for me because I feel normal as I can feel anyway. Yeah, I my inner clock gets me too. Like even when I don't set an alarm, I have a tendency to wake up at that time, and I'll just go to the bathroom, go back to bed, and say, "Okay, let's me lay here and see if I can get back to sleep." So, so oh man. So yeah, I'm. It was just not a thing for me. So probably because I sleep during the day too. So if there was any ice storm, it just didn't affect me in the slightest. So it was just a good time, and nothing nothing happens. We get weather reports like that all the time. Like it's been literally 4 or 5 degrees warmer than what they've said, like all spring. Like, oh, it's going to be 46 today. It's 50. Oh, it's going to be 38 today. No, it's 42. So it's been a little bit warmer than they predicted. So, you know, you got to deal with it, I guess. Yeah, we got pummeled by snow last week. So had like 3 or 4 inches. It didn't last long though. So you live in Ypsi. That's right. Yeah, Ypsilanti. It's been a while since I've been to Ypsi. So it's been a while since I've been to a lot of the state. I probably this summer should do some sort of tour of my own home state. I miss a lot of the towns and sites of my own home state. So the born again experience, it was required to be a Pentecostal minister or member. So yes. How do I argue against it? Every religion has something experiential that you are taught and emotionally encouraged or manipulated to do. Um, as a former Pentecostal, emotion is just a part of it. And as an autistic person, the church was the only place I felt comfortable expressing my emotions at times, although most of the time not. Um, The born again experience is basically you feel bad about yourself, and some dude offers you, it's the same feeling you can get if, like, say you're financially strapped and you need $5,000. And then somebody comes along and says, "Hey, if you do this for me, I'll give you the $5,000." It's the same emotional high you'll get. Okay. It's the endorphins of religion and religion experience hit the same stuff as alcohol, drugs, sex. Okay. It's the same place. And so the born again experience is a very positive experience because people believe very strongly that, oh, I'm a sinner and this is going to solve my problem. And then I go to the thing, I say the prayer, I feel this emotional weight lift off my shoulders because I think something has worked. It's the same as any, like, that's why I use snake oil. Like, here, take the, pay $5, drink the snake oil, and you'll feel better. Well, yeah, if the snake oil is nothing more than alcohol and a few drugs mixed in, okay, naturalistic drugs, and it makes you feel better for a moment, well, that worked. And I think the and experience is kind of like that, where people think it works, but then why are you back at the altar all the time asking forgiveness for sins? It becomes this. I don't know about other religions, but in Pentecostalism, I noted it was like this. Um, I don't know, how do I describe it? It became this regular experiential thing where people feel bad about themselves, go to the altar and feel better. Um, so it's just awesome emotionalism to people, and that's how I'd explain it. I know that at the time I gave my heart to Jesus, quote unquote, I was feeling pretty bad about myself because this whole church was telling me I was a sinner, and I'm 9 years old, and then we had a VBS with a guy named Sparkles the Clown, and he comes and delivers the message. And, I don't have any way of critically thinking at 9 years old that there's something wrong, although I was probably ahead of most people. So yeah, it's, there's a catharsis, you feel better when you go to the altar. And then they retrain you every time you need God, come back to the altar for this experience. And it becomes like a drug. Okay. I would say the born again experience is the first time you experience the drug. So, so there's that. Um, so, uh, no problem. I listen. I'm here to answer questions, especially about deconversion and atheism. It's kind of my jam. So, so it's like it's a drug. Okay. That's why I oppose it so much, because it's like I oppose drug abuse and other abuses. Why wouldn't I support something that's what I consider to be religious abuse? So, very similar experience because I've been to both concerts and church services, and it's the same high. It really is. I went to a secular concert and did all the same things that I did when I was at church and got the same feelings, absolute same feelings. So it's that way. Yeah, you can learn to speak in tongues, Grumpy Librarian. We've had this discussion before, but you can learn how to speak in tongues, and I think that's one of the things that really got to me after a while. Is once I realized that it was a learned behavior, because you hear it around you, okay, and you're trying to figure out how to do it. And then they'll give you catchphrases. Sometimes they don't, but you have this peer pressure combined with this, everybody's having this emotional experience about it, and you want that too. So there's that. So there's that. But Anne Marie says she feels empty inside because she missed the altar calls. I I I would guess, though, Anne Marie, there's something similar in Catholicism. There's the pageantry, there's an emotional feeling you get about going into a large Catholic church, and the mass and all the rituals and stuff that appeals to a certain type of person. I remember we used to have classes in college and seminary, Bible college and seminary, about the different ways that different parts of the liturgy affect people, and different types of people are drawn to different parts of the liturgy. And I think that's why some people are drawn to different churches is the liturgy. The liturgy has a different emotional effect. Like, I mean, we've had the discussion about relics. That has as a former Pentecostal, that would never have had an emotional effect on me, but I can see why some people would be drawn to relics and the ritual and the mass and all that stuff, where that appeals more to them. So, yeah, not really a God needed. I can still speak in tongues too, grumpy and library. I just find it distasteful. You just kind of pretend it's real. Yeah, I think also, but then you're also dealing with like childhood indoctrination. Like if you go to it as a kid, that's church, okay, and it becomes church. So to you, and I back in the day, Anne Marie, if you were still a Catholic and I was still a Protestant, Pentecostal boy, I'd be trying to save your soul because you're in a false religion. So now I think about it and I just laugh about it. It's like, oh my gosh, the whole religious game is just a con job. It just drives me insane that people just don't want it. Oh man, but yeah, those are the good old days of my life when I believed in all this stuff and emotion was what kept me in. So I always laugh when people say I left the church for emotional reasons. They are totally wrong. So, so I don't know. Now I look at it and I go, yeah, I was indoctrinated. Just very, very naughty. So the flesh of Jesus tastes like chalk. Not a good dating experience there, Anne Marie. If it was a date, Jesus just isn't giving out his best, is he? Oh, I yeah. I just have always thought about it because I've done communion so many different ways as a Protestant. Like when I was in the Assemblies of God, it was like the little cup and the oh gosh, the oyster cracker thing, and then later on it was little pieces of bread with the same communion cup. And my last church, I held out this unleavened bread and a cup, and people would take off a piece of it and dip it in the cup. And I don't know. I just look at it and it's just, I think this is the biggest thing that all of us deal with as deconversion. Dude, I so relate to this comment. How do I explain it? When you dedicate your life to Jesus, you become a minister, you feel you're called into the ministry, and then you go to do 2 different states to get education to be a minister. You go through the rigmarole of becoming an ordained Pentecostal member, which requires you to be a licensed minister before that. And you have to prove that you're filled with the Spirit and have a ministry already before that. So I've been, preaching. I started preaching when I was 16 years old, and all of that towards a certain end. And one of the things I think all of us wrestle with, what would I have been if I hadn't wasted all this time on an energy? And that is why I say what I say at the end of everything. Okay. It's like, um, it's just, there's that. I got to go gluten-free option and the oopsie mark. Yeah, no. Yeah, dating Hey, BS, somebody was asking about you earlier. I'm glad you showed up. So I know people have you on their mind. I don't know what to think about that. I guess you'll have to have some, I'll let you comment on that one. Oh, you look forward to Jesus juice still? Okay. Yeah, real wine is some people's wonderful thing. That's a fantasy that reading at a local bar was more fun than Sunday school stories. I just couldn't take it seriously. So after that. Creepy and salty. I knew it was coming. Every time. Because every time I talk about Catholic communion, it is the literal body and blood of Jesus Christ because of transubstantiation. Every time we go down this dark path, and it's funny every time. Yeah, I mean, there are those of you that get out early because you realize the BS. Others of us have a lot of pressure. I mean, between my parents taking me to church every Sunday and insisting on it, I don't blame them because I think they got indoctrinated too. But it's like that's what they felt that it was necessary. So, oh, okay. So let's see who got these. B.S. Lewis is Blastmaster shows chat. John O'Neill is cool. Can all thank Ronald from Indian Lake for their membership. Get to enjoy that for a month. Thank you very much, Ronald. I appreciate it. So, yeah. Yeah, well, you have to buy your citizenship here. Yes, like many other nations, this is true. I'm just very honest about it. We got Trump handing out citizenships for 5 mil, so I figure I'm in good company. So there's that. Oh, but yeah. All right. Well, good. I'm glad somebody's listening intently. I'm not. Uh, yeah, I mean, you spend a whole bunch of time, Wolf, just thinking about what God's direction is in your life, and if you could have all that back, what would you be? And I ask that but at the same time, I'm like, it's not always a productive question to ask because it just makes me sad and depressed. And so I've tried to focus more on the here and now as a deconverting person. Where am I heading now that all of this is behind me? The channel is kind of my outlet. I've realized a need to express myself in some form of production, media production. I used to write on my blogs all the time, but now I kind of just do YouTube. Um, but all of it is about moving on. Um, Now that all this, you can't get all that back, and you can obsess about it a lot. And what can you do now? Yeah. So there's that. So. Yeah, I think that's the issue, Ronald. I mean, to get to your question and get to the tenor here tonight, it's like, okay, here's where I am now. What can I do with this today? And my question was, okay, what do I do with a Bachelor of Arts in Biblical Studies / ministry? What do I do with a Master of Arts in Theological Studies? What do I do with that now that I'm an atheist? Okay, and YouTube became, and all the years of experience of preaching and teaching, what do I do with that? You know, as an autistic person, I don't really have a problem public speaking because I can really mask up for that. But I enjoy streaming because I'm actually a little bit more emotional here than I am in real life. So, um, yeah, it's a question you can spend your time on, and sometimes it's productive in thinking, I could have been something else. And what it does is it reinforces the rightness of your decision of walking away from faith because you're like, yeah, this thing wasted my time, wasted my opportunities. It's like there's that. So, oh man, I hear you. Okay. 40 years a Christian, 20 years as a pastor, a lot of chunk of my life, Lee, gone. And do I wish I could have some of it back? Sure. Am I going to get that? No. So, hey, Atomic. Gotta have to have a convo with your boss to be on time for my streams. That's all right. It's a Friday stream, so we might go a little longer. Um, just to bring you up to speed, the streaming is going to continue. We have a new emoji of Fangs eating a carrot, so which is probably going to become the basis for many emojis to come, I think. Yeah, but I'm gonna start figuring out how to get some more videos into the mix, so that I get my watch hours and my views and my subscribers moving again. So you try to be a decent human being and help more than harm. Yeah, religion will kind of turn that off to you if you think about it. So let's see. You're lucky that Christianity didn't turn you into a bad person. You about all, not just the ones that agree with you. Yeah, I, I, I'm going to give that to my dad. Um, he was a Christian, but of the two of my parents, he was the least fundamentalist about it. He had been a happy heathen for quite a while. Both my parents were actually. It's an interesting story trying to uncover what my parents were before I was born, because the bits and pieces I get is that they were kind of, shall I say, they weren't hippies in the sense that they wore the flowers in their hair or any of that sort of thing, but they had the attitude about that. Like, it's before they became Christians or really became religious, they were very open human beings and that never left them. So both of them were like, treat everybody with respect, love everybody, don't treat a human being badly simply because they disagree with you. You're going to have a lot of that. So I'll give my parents the nod, Christian though they were, that, you know, this should make you a better person, not a worse person. But at the same time, they also encouraged me when I decided to become a minister. They were absolutely on board with that. So, yeah. And now in retrospect, it's like, okay. But yeah, they always taught me to be a good person. So, yeah, let's dial back a few moments. I wish I had not Florida or Alabama or Afghanistan, really. I'm actually kind of, yeah, it is kind of crazy. My parents became fundamentalist Christians for the most part, except they were very loving ones. I know that sounds like a weird concept, but they never got into the whole, political activism in the name of Jesus or any of that stuff. They were more concerned about, having an experiential faith. And I think that's where the hippie part comes from. They were very experiential. But my parents were, before they became religious, were very open, to all kinds of things that most Christians would cringe at. And that's actually how they met. So they met at a dance of all places where my mother's former religion, Assemblies of God, frowned on dancing. So when she kind of got away with it when she went to college, she started going to dance halls. That's where she met my dad. So one thing led to another, and according to my mother, they were having so much sex they decided to get married. So to stop feeling guilty about it, like, okay, I don't know why you'd feel guilty about that, but I guess if you believe that somebody's watching you every time, I guess. Hey, Kristen, good to see you. So yeah, I've been to Florida. It's not all it's cracked up to be. It has its good points. Yeah, she still defines the word. Yeah, because she's a good person. Okay, there's a lot of good people in faith. That's why I push back with the. I had a guy talk about compassionate anti-theism because he watched my video on it and my commitment to it earlier this year, and he's like, "Yeah, I get it, but if somebody's a racist," and I'm like, "Why are they a racist?" Okay, why are they anti-trans or anti-LGBTQ? Why are they those things? Indoctrination. So it's weird to me that people don't recognize how many good people there are out there still in faith. It's not that they're bad people. It's, to me, it's just they would be good people regardless, okay, of whether they had their faith or not. And that's hard to get across to people. But I got this comment about compassionate anti-theism. I'm like, yeah, the guy might be a bigot because he's been indoctrinated to be a bigot. Okay. And for that, they don't earn my anger, they earn my pity. Okay. And my empathy for them goes out. Like, even every theist I've had on here, with very few notable exceptions, my empathy has gone out to. Like, I used to think that way. I used to be that way. And I don't know, I find it's hard. So it's kind of like I get the anger because those are bad negative forces like racism, anti-freedom, anything, in my opinion, of choice is really bad. But I try to understand why a person is that way before I condemn them. Okay. To that, to the liberal dogma, excommunication. I'm not going to talk to this person ever again, where people act really religious about people having different opinions than they do. They'll decry it inside the church, but when it comes to politics and social, they don't. So I decry both. I don't think we're getting anywhere, Atomic Punk, by calling people names and staying away from them. Okay, that's what churches do, and I know that that's not effective. Yeah, it's what people are taught. Yeah, I experienced this. I've got two grandchildren and one on the way that are going to be quarter Polynesian / African American. And I noticed, like, my granddaughter, when she was 1 and 2, uh, that she's the oldest of my oldest child, and she has this very Polynesian look to her. Okay, it's a lighter skin Polynesian, but very Polynesian look to her. And my other grandchildren are like lily white. Okay, like, we are the white man kind of thing. And they were playing with each other, no big deal. Nobody even mentioned it. It's not until they turned 5 or 6 and got into school that other people started to teach them that they were different because of those things. It's really weird how that works out. And I was kind of sad that they have to have that revelation at such a young age, kind of thing. But I don't know. I don't know. I really understand the power of indoctrination. And so I guess I give people a little bit more grace, if you will. Because I know, like, the Advent racist that's, just against everything, they've been taught that by their parents, and their parents got taught that by their parents. And breaking that cycle is not, you're not going to do that by yelling at them. Okay. I'm not sure I put it that way. I mean, I still oppose the racism. Like, I will still come against them about it. It's just, what is my motivation? I think the world has enough hatred in it. I'll just put it that way. I prefer to come from a point of compassion in dealing with it, because then they have a tendency to open up and maybe possibly change. I'm not going to guarantee a change, but I think when you have a better dialogue, there's more of a chance of people considering what you say instead of just screaming at them. So, maybe hate the theism, not the theist. I mean, so there's that. Religious extreme, and now the U.S. is becoming more. Yeah, that's one of the problems, because they see the religious extremists of the Islamic, and then the Christian churches go, we got to be better than the Islamics, so to speak, better. Yeah, there's definitely a backlash there. I think a lot of the religious people became even more religious than they were because of all that. So, and that's why we're living in the current state we are in the United States. So it's scary to me. Don't get me wrong, all this stuff is scary to me, but I don't think I'm going to deal with it by fear and creating more anger and fear. I'm going to try to do the opposite. So I can accept a human being as a human being and not like their ideas. I mean, I think it's a sign of an educated, I think somebody said this once, I can't remember who. It's a sign of an educated person to consider an idea without actually holding it. So I think that's kind of a, yeah, it's a problem for me, Katie, because as a former teacher, I understand how that's done. Because the accusation that public schools indoctrinate is not completely false. Okay. There's definitely like the whole system is like go to class on time, think what we tell you to think, regurgitate what we tell you to say. As somebody who was a Christian education pastor and I walked into a public school, I saw a lot of corollaries. And we're creating very compliant kids. And that's why I always loved the rebels in my class. They wouldn't get as much trouble in my class as other classes. I'm like, why is that, Mr. Rabyd? Says, I appreciate that you think against the grain. Okay. I appreciate that. So that is the unfortunate reality. If you attack a theist ideology, they think you're attacking them and they take it personally because faith in religion is very personal. And you got to figure out a way to talk about their ideas without being insulting to them. Um, I don't want to. I don't want to reinforce their backlash. I'll just put it that way, Anne Marie. Find a way to talk to them about it without making it personal. Most of the people that are banned on this channel made it personal. Like they attacked me personally without knowing me. Okay, and they were spreading all that kind of crap. You know, Jim Bob would probably, for instance, still be welcome on the channel, except he was very two-faced with his dealings with me. Because at first it was like this genuine conversation, and then I did my first reaction video to him, and then he went all precept bullshit with me. And it's like, dude, this is not the way you were talking before. Okay, and he just couldn't get through the fact that I didn't attack him personally in that first video, but I kind of just went after his ideas hard. Like, no, this has nothing to do with atheism. And you got definitional errors, category errors, a whole bunch of stuff. And he took that personally and started calling me dummy, stupid, the cowardly atheist because I wouldn't debate him. And that's how he got banned. You know, it's like it went from me just countering his ideas to him just being real personal about it. And I tried to be as nice as possible about it too. And after that, so there's that. Hey, see you later, Evan. Appreciate you stopping by. Hey, Victoria, welcome. Yeah, it's the peer pressure too. I I worry about public education because people do it. And every teacher that I knew in school when I was inside had their own prejudices, and those came out during their classes. Okay. And in the South, there's a lot more of those. Sorry. Okay. There's still stuff that is. This is also another problem. That's why I do a lot of the atheist propaganda stuff. My friendly elder god, though you're cranky. The reason I do a lot of the anti-atheist and I try to be as respectful about it as possible is like, but sometimes I straight up have to tell people that this person is engaged in propaganda, and they do reinforce the idea of making it personal because they bring it into the realm of personally attacking the atheist. And so then it's immediately assumed that if I counter that, I'm personally attacking them. So if you start off with this attack mentality, then you get it in return. So you're very correct. Yeah. Yeah, they do a lot of that. I mean, I was over at Captain Desk earlier today. We're dealing with that. That's the title of his stream tonight is the straw manning and the straw manning of evolutionary theory and the straw manning of secularists is strong in what they were dealing with today. So like, there's a lot of straw manning. Um, there's Well, as long as I think it depends on what state you're in, but if it's student led, you can't really do anything about it. The moment that like there's an adult in the room and they're doing all the teaching all the time, then you can say something because those kind of things, Bible studies are supposed to be student led. And I had this argument with a pastor when I was on the school board in Michigan. I said, you can be there to monitor to make sure they don't do any stupid shit or anything like that as kids. What you cannot do is inject your faith into the discussion. They have to be the ones having the discussion. They have to have a leader. And so, and it may very well be, Kristen, that, that he, that's his group. That's his people inside a school. Okay. And that's a hard thing to get over if you want to tell a kid, hey, you can't go there. Well, these are my friends. Yeah. Okay. Uh, Yeah. Okay. Well, then you're probably in a good place. But it's like, sometimes kids go to those things because their friends go to them, and they just want to be with their friends, and that's cool. They need that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So he's going because of his friends. Yeah. See, and what are you going to do about that? You want the kid to have friends. It's like it's something that I deal with all the time because it's like, I go to my family's house and a lot of them are still believers. Do I want to have good relationships with my family and have a good family vibe? Or do I want to be right? And, some things get said and I'm like, that's not true. Like my mom is like the chief regurgitator of what I used to teach still. So, and it's like, Mom, I don't believe that, obviously. Why do you think I believe it now? But I don't say that because I don't want to upset the the family dynamic. So it's a hard call. You've never had friends, Paul? I don't know. You got a few around here. They're internet friends, but they count. You went to a Calvinist school because your friend had to go, so you decided to go to be with your friend. Yeah. See, that's the thing. Friendship, the bonds, the stuff. So much of that religion does that really, really well. Okay, atheists are not so good at the human bonding thing. Um, that's why I try to create that in our community here, where you guys can talk to each other without being so bad. But yeah. Even in the South, it wasn't for my astrophysics teacher. I might not have. He never outright said he didn't believe, but he made sure that if you're interested in teaching critical thought, yeah, that's kind of my mode when I was my social study teaching self in my Texas school. As I never was outward with my atheism, but a lot of kids knew I didn't believe shit. Okay, and I think they knew I was a former minister. Well, why aren't you doing that? And after a few conversations, they're like, oh, he doesn't really believe that anymore. Without being outward about it. But yes, um, teachers are human beings, and so who they are comes out. Well, if you have the majority of your public school teachers go to church on Sunday, that still comes out. I lost track of the crosses around teachers' necks and little verses of scripture on their walls, and all that stuff was there. Okay, so you could tell where they stood, and that came out in the way they taught too. So, um, but there were people like me. There was like 6 or 7 of us in the building that were non-believers, but we couldn't be overt about it because we followed the rules. Okay, so we're not here to do anything like that. So, yeah, I now believe that this is the proper way to raise children. Just teach them to think, teach them to examine, teach them to be critical, teach them to be skeptical. okay, of things until it proves itself to them, and teach them how to look up stuff and things like that and research. And you're going to have to let them make their own decisions. They will anyway at the end of. You were a Black Sabbath fan in a Calvinist school? That's awesome. Oh my goodness. That's outstanding. See, that was my problem in church, because I love music, okay, and still do. And I'm like, why does the devil have all the good stuff, you know? Um, but yeah, I listened to Metallica and Black Sabbath and all those guys back in the day, and I'm like, these guys really aren't Satanists. They're just using that to get more people to follow them. Yeah, there you go. Internet friends do rock from time to time. They are some of the best. Teach your children well. They're running your retirement home. There's a lot of truth to that. I have a relation through my son-in-law that I think his brother works in the nursing home business, and I'm like, dude, you're like 30 something. So I was like, yeah, okay. So there's that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Slayer. Yeah, Slayer had all that stuff. I am now firmly of the opinion that when the whole Devils in the Music scare came out, a lot of those guys leaned into it because it got more people to listen to them. I don't know if Christians realize this, but when they draw attention to something, more people, it's like I remember when The Last Temptation of Christ came out. It was it's a horrible movie, really. I mean, it's really bad, but it got more people to go to see it in the theater because the Christians were against it. You know, so uh, they God and religion don't like competition. Okay, you got to get your fun inside a church or nowhere else. So it's like if you know it's every time you listen to a preacher these days and they're railing on about something in the world, it's usually because it's popular, and religion doesn't like competition. It doesn't like, I don't, they'll do it one of two ways. Like everything's a sin, so you need to stay away from it when you're a Christian. But they'll also like, oh, you need to spend more time in prayer and Bible study and coming to church, so you have less time to do that. Those are the two ways religion, you got to get serious about the religion. And it doesn't like competition, because the moment you start taking enjoyment in something in life, well, how dare you take enjoyment of something outside the faith? How dare you do that? So, yes. Yeah, we are good internet friends, I think. Yeah, the soundtrack was good. I just thought the movie was shit. Okay. It was just really badly written. I just didn't like it. Yeah, it was insane back then because they were like, the idea, I think what drove people nuts about that movie is the idea that Jesus would have lustful thoughts and would think about, having sex. How dare they do that? But, it wasn't even based on the gospel. It was based on some random monk's writings back in the day. And I just, I just, I just found that hilarious because they ended up having more people watch it. Okay. The Christians are pissed off about this. Let's go see it. So, and it, it's like a lot of things that Christians do. They get again it and it makes it more popular. And music was one of those things in the 80s. Like I remember going and watching the Peters brothers do their spiel about how evil rock and roll was. It had a demonic beat and all this other crap. And it's like you're literally, every time you make this presentation, us Christian kids are exposed to stuff that we wouldn't have been exposed to otherwise. Oh, wow. hey, they played that little clip of Black Sabbath or AC/DC to illustrate a point. And man, that sounds really good. I'm going to check them out. I don't think they realized it like that. Yeah, and that was the other problem with it. It was definitely a propaganda piece. So, but yeah, I don't know if Christians realize that whenever they do that, they actually make something more popular. It's hilarious. So there's that. I see. That's the thing, Fred. I actually think that most people are actually good. It's the idiots that we see on TV. Okay, it's like the problem with bad people is they're also attention whores. So it's like they got to get attention for their shit. If you're a good person, you very rarely get noticed, except by the people you're good to. So, uh, yeah, I get you there. I get you, but I really felt the plot was awful, and it was just badly acted. And the Christians went nuts because of the sex scene. So it's like he would never have been. He was the Son of God, and I'm like, tempted in all ways as we are, yet without sin, is what the Bible says, which means Jesus. Mary Magdalene's walking by and he saw that ass. Okay, and he had the thought. Okay, that's what that tells me. Okay, so there's that. But you know, I never could get the objection that Jesus was somehow this super person that never faced temptation. Okay, it's like the Bible directly says that that's not true. So, but yeah, trying to teach the metric system, yeah, it still exists. I find it ironic that you know Americans still use the royal system, and the UK people that taught us that are on the metric system. I find that so ironic. Yes, and you know what, Katie? My dad had that in his collection, and I absolutely loved it. What a great! It's a better song, even because my dad had set up the one room we had into our music room because it's in the '70s, late '70s, early '80s. You had a music room, um, and he had his speakers set up like in the four corners, and if you sat in the middle during that song, during the drum solo, you could hear the drums going around you. Like they used a microphone to go around the drums as he was playing. But you couldn't hear that unless you set up your stereo a certain way. And my dad did. So it was one of the coolest songs ever for me. So, yeah, you come aware knowing everything about substances. Yeah, it's funny because whenever it's still the same effect with me today. When somebody in Christianity is against something, I still look it up. Like, I'm like, what was it? Greg Locke like smashed this Barbie house. And I'm like, what the hell is Greg Locke, smashing Barbie houses for? And so I started to look it up. Oh, it's the Barbie movie and how they're against it and, all this other stuff. So we have to do that. It's like, God damn it. Idiots. Uh, uh, well, Lethal Weapon is a great movie. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think most of Mel Gibson's views came out until he did The Passion of the Christ. I think before that, he just kept it to himself. But then when he did that movie and his anti-Semitic bunch of other views came out, yeah. So there's that. Yeah, it would cost us a lot of money to change over. Like every sign on the highways, every classroom would have to be altered. Yeah. I never really thought of Chevy Chase as a good actor, good comedian, but that's a different thing altogether. you know, you might have a point, Cranky Elder God. You might have a point. I don't know. I remember watching him do. every once in a while he does this off the wall shit, and it drives me insane. Because even if I was still a Christian, I'd be like, dude, knock it off. Okay, you're making us all look bad. You're an idiot. Yeah, it's like, are you a Christian troll? Or is that what you're doing? Um, so I just honestly, I get it, but it's like, my God, dude, it's like, get out of town. Yeah. What about replicants? Many people are probably against them. I don't know. They're getting to become more of a possibility, aren't they? So there's that. See you later, Wolf. Appreciate you. Oh. Oh, you did black metal, John? I see. I'm a metalhead, but there are certain forms of metal I just never could get into. I don't know if that's the autism in me that likes. I don't know. There's some forms of metal that I shy away from, and it's just because they don't resonate with me. It's not that I dislike them; they don't resonate. And black metal is probably one of those. It's good, and I have a problem with it resonating with me. So yeah, I'm about ready to take off too. I've been on for an hour and a half, and I think I hit everything that's happening. Just kind of as a recap, I'm going to continue to stream, but I'm going to try to find a way to weasel some videos in there and maybe take some of the streams and turn them into videos. But I've got to get the subs and views and watch hours up, and that happens through videos. So, but we're going to keep doing what we're doing. So there's that. So that's kind of where we're going. Some emojis have come. I think I've laid one down. So you have two of them, and hopefully we'll have some more here as the months go by, the weeks and months go by. So, but I'll see you all probably on Monday with the Stoic Atheist. So I'll see you then. But great discussion tonight. Thanks to everybody who donated memberships and donated to the channel tonight. I appreciate that so much. We are going to continue. I've got to alter a few things and balance some things out. So thank you very, very much for all the support that you have given me. So for Bluegrass, okay. Yes, you too. But yeah, I'm going to head out, guys. It's been a great stream. I love y'all. Have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy it. I'm going to appreciate the evening that I have off tonight and do a few things for the channel and do a few things for myself. So thank you very much. And as always, live your best life, folks. You only get one go around and then it's over. So make sure you're taking all your time, money, and opportunities and using them for yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. Don't waste them on the trappings of religion and faith. That's a dead end. I speak from experience. And as always, guys, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for all the support. I appreciate all of you. And I'll catch you next time.